Hi, I'm Tracey L Fisher. This is a reentry point of view, unapologetic podcast. And I'm here because a lot of people keep coming at me asking my opinion of the political race. Well, I'm bipartisan. I can care less about a Republican or a Democrat or independent. I don't care who win the office. What I care about the individual that's in the office. I'm not a cult follower. From my grandparents down to my parents, down to me, to my children, it was just a Democrat, no matter what. And it was stay a Democrat, even though we live in a Democratic city, but we number one in poverty, especially in the Democratic areas, and we number one in crime, and we number one in taxing our senior citizens in the Democratic area. So I can't keep that going. I got to break the cycle. So I teach my grandchildren how to be independent, how to be bipartisan, and start voting for the individuals. So that means if you vote for the individuals, you have to get out there and find out what that person is about. You have to actually do your homework and find out what that person is about. Like take the White House right now with President Donald Trump. I don't know Trump, never met Trump, okay? But here's what I do know. Donald Trump has never, ever, ever been a politician. He never held office. He was a TV guy and he was a business guy, period. That's what you have inside of the White House. A TV guy, a business guy. And America is a corporation now. It's not the America that was built hundreds and hundreds of years ago. We the people, for the people, by the people. That don't even exist no more. Who's ever in the White House is just a rubber stamp. That's why the rules and regulations to this stuff right here, right? That's why they tried to impeach him and all that other stuff. But I can care less about that because even when Obama was in office for 8 years, when Obama won in 2008, Obama had the House and the Senate. The House, listen to what I'm telling you. He had the House and the Senate as a Democratic sitting president. And our community still stayed in poverty. So you can't come to me and tell me the reason we in poverty in the Democratic area is because of a Republican. You can't tell me that because I am awakened now. I'm not a cult follower. I'm not Jim Jones and I'm not going to drink the juice and all that stuff. I deal with individuals so I can find out their political report card because a politician is supposed to bring service, resources, and economics to a community. That's how you can judge their report card. You have a lot of people, especially in the urban community in Philadelphia, that have been in office for decades. And you have nothing but gentrification running through our community. But here's the problem. Nothing can get built in the urban community without your state representative being involved, without your council person being involved, without your congressperson being involved, and without your senator being involved. So therefore, how we have all this gentrification going on in our community, but yet nobody knows what's going on? Because the people that represent us is not representing us. But every year, every 2 to 4 years, they come out and say, vote for me, right? Now, most of us vote because of name recognitions and because we conditioned to just voting for them. We don't ask them why they didn't do what they promised to do last campaign. They don't never, ever, ever achieve any of the goals they come and speak to us about. But yet we blindly follow them. As soon as a Republican come on the scene and try to help us get out of this mess we in, they appoint the blame game. See, I understand the brain game and the blame game. The brain game is get involved with the decision making, and then when it don't go right and I need you to go the way I need it to go, I do the blame game. So if we got a common enemy, I can get you to act and go any way I need you to go because I'm telling you this enemy is there. Here's how you win an election. 2 ways, with hope and fear. One and the other. Obama came with hope, change. George Bush came with fear. They coming to get you, Ike Carter and all that stuff. This is what people don't understand. Now look at the urban community. Just look at it. Look at all the crime that's being taken place. Look at all the teenage pregnancy, the high school dropouts. Look at everything. Look, there's nothing for these young people to do in our community. There's no programs in our community that teaches them a trade. We're supposed to have buildings right now where these young men can put down guns and pick up a tool belt. They used to teach it in school, but they took it out of school because we used to graduate high school in the 70s with a trade where we could come home and employ ourselves. We could be entrepreneurs. We can go and start a plumbing business, a carpentry business, auto mechanic business. All this was in the schools when I was growing up. They took it out of the schools. College is not for everybody. They try to sell us that dream, go to college 4 years. College is not for everybody. Imagine if these guys on the corner knew how to work with their hands instead of shooting and killing and robbing and stealing. Imagine if they had a program they can go to, right? The government can pay them $15 an hour to go to these schools and actually learn a trade. Then when they leave out of these schools, they can go and start their own business with entrepreneurship or work for someone. And that takes pride. All that comes with pride. They start looking at life different. And they too tired to be standing on the corner after work, to be carrying guns, shooting guns, robbing and stealing and selling drugs and stuff. Give them something else to do. And here's another issue we're not addressing in our community: mental health. We're not addressing that. We see them downtown. They so young now. They homeless. They downtown begging. They on drugs with mental problems. You see them standing in the highways on the yellow lines begging with signs and talking about I'm homeless. He's 20-something years old with a sign. I'm homeless, and it's raining and wet. The sign, cardboard all wet, everything. This is what's going on in our community right now. These are the things we need to start addressing. We're not addressing these issues. And because we're not addressing these issues, they're going to always stay on the table. People talking about, well, what the police commissioner doing, right? Well, let me tell you this. I used to live the life of crime. And I have never not sold drugs, carried a gun, or robbed somebody because who my police commissioner was. So let's stop that nonsense. She wasn't going to come to this town and crime just stop. Then they say about defunding the police department, right? Here's the thing. You can't throw money at this crime with the police people. You can get them an extra $20 million, right, to their budget. You still gonna have the same amount of crime you got right now. So let's cut that nonsense out. It don't take no money for the police people to come and resolve this and solve this, because they can't, because they is after the animals get out the barnyard. Then they gotta go shut the door. Nobody's going to go around the cops and actually commit a crime directly in front of them. No, that's not going to happen. So let's get that straight. Look at our senior citizens. They barely can eat and feed themselves right now. They done worked hard all their life. They can't even enjoy their own community right now because of the youth and because who represent the community. Well, our politicians, they selling everything out. They just selling us out, and we is okay with it because they come smiling and grinning in your face. Here's what they do. They have two constituents that they deal with. First of all, the black politicians, here's what they do. They'll come to the recreation center and they'll do a back to school drive with the book bags. They'll do a coat giveaway, a Thanksgiving dinner, a shredding the paper, and they do an expungement clinic. Okay, fine. That's needed. That's good, right? But when they go to the other section that they represent, with the white community, right? They do generational wealth. They give them land. They give them property. They give them 10-year tax abatement and stuff like that. Imagine your grandparents living here, born here, worked hard all their life, have an opportunity to live somewhere and build without having to pay taxes for 10 years. Imagine that. And this country was built on the backs of our ancestors. And yet you got other people come here and get a tax abatement because the politicians voted for it and they allow it to take place. And then when come election time, they show up again as our great good old friends and say, vote for me again. And we are walking to that booth. I did this one time in my life and I still feel so bad about it, even though it was years ago. But I feel bad about it because I'm conscious now, I'm awakened now. And I went into that voting booth. I never looked on the other side of these other individuals, the Republicans and whoever was running, right? I just pulled the lever and I just said, Democrat, 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 Democrat. But here's what happened. And I did my homework. I wound up going in front of one of them judges that I voted for, and she allowed information into my court, into my case, that I was guilty of the case. But what was being said by the police officer was so obvious a blatant lie. That's what got me convicted, because she said during her sentencing that I believed the officer. And it was a straight lie. But this is the same person that I remember that name that I voted for without even vetting them. So that taught me a valuable lesson. So certain things in life have to happen to you in order for you to understand the value of what's going on around you and the dedication and commitment that it takes to be part of the community. So what we need to do, we need to say, okay, look, Democrats, you want my vote, you have to earn my vote. Because when you don't have to earn something, you don't respect it. If somebody give you a car, you hitting all kinds of bumps and everything. But if you got to work for a car, overtime and all that stuff, you're going to drive around them bumps. You're going to take care of your car. You're going to get the oil change. You're going to respect that because you had to work for it. When a Democrat don't have to work for a Democratic vote, I give you a perfect example. You have a lot of Democrats that's winning office, right? But they're not qualified for the office that they win. They have no experience whatsoever. Here's what I learned about a politician. You don't have to be experienced to win your office. You just have to run and then get the backing of the party and so forth and so on. You don't have nobody in office in the city of Philadelphia that represent the urban community that started out with qualifications to do so. Sometimes it'll grow on you, you grow into the position. But you have a lot of people, and the reason I keep saying Democrats is because I'm a Democrat. I just never changed my registration. And I was born and raised in a Democratic household. And that's how I understand Democrats. I know about Democrats because I'm an expert in that. And I'm telling you, it's a cult. No matter what happens in our community, you stay Democrat, right? But here's the problem. They trying to convince us that nobody else can resolve and solve our problems if they're not a Democrat. But if you drowning, right, you don't care who reached their hand out. I'll give you a perfect example. 2017, I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma. That's a cancer. That's a rare blood disease, right? And I was diagnosed with that in 2017 during the midst of my campaign running for helping then Senator Scott Wagner run for governor. And I got sick and everything. So when I went to the hospital, a doctor came out, was Dr. Joshua Rubin, white guy, Jewish guy. And he came and he walked into the room. I'm sick. I have stage 4 cancer. Didn't know it. But I went from 256 to 180 pounds within a matter of a week. I was dropping rapidly, right? My wife was like, oh my God, what's going on, right? So I had to go and they diagnosed me. That doctor walked into the room. And I never asked that doctor what was his religion. I never asked that doctor what was his political affiliation. And I never asked him, was he a racist or anything? All I wanted to know was he qualified to help me get my health back. Did he understand the situation and what type of treatment would have been needed to help me get back on the road of recovery? And he did. Him and I are great friends to this day. We go to Sixers games and everything like that. But here's the situation. I switched it over to politics. My community has cancer. And they keep giving me a doctor that don't know anything about cancer. And wondering why the community has stage 4 cancer and everybody is dying because of the representation of the community. That's why I started helping other individuals other than Democrats. And I give you the perfect reason why. I went to the office, to the governor's office, and I have this on film because I wasn't allowed to film in the office, but I did it anyway. And I met Governor Wolf, and I took and put the camera up on him. I said, how you doing, Governor Wolf? Tracey L Fisher from Philadelphia. And they was all nervous. I had council people with me and stuff, and they standing around. I said, I have a question, and I need the answer to. He said, what's the question? I said, what is your urban agenda? Now, he done already been in there for 4 years, and he literally couldn't answer me. He looked at all the black representatives that was in there to say, how would y'all allow this man to ask me that question? He never answered me, and then his staff made me cut the footage. So when I left out of there, coming through the halls, I ran into Senator Wagner. And I seen Senator Wagner. Then people want to know, why would this black Democrat go so hard for this white Republican? I said, excuse me, sir. Senator Wagner. He said, yes, sir. I said, listen, I'm Tracey L Fisher. And I would like to know, I'm from Philadelphia, and I'm a Democrat. And I would like to know, what is your urban agenda? And this is the reason I went hard for this man. He said, I don't have one. Give me one. Literally. And from that point on, I took him to every black section in the city of Philadelphia. I took him to Woodland Avenue. I took him down South Street. I took him over to Boots and Bonnets out Chester. I took him to Lou and Chews in North Philly. I took this man on 52nd and Market, Malcolm X Park. I took him everywhere. And if you met Scott Wagner at that time and listened to his conversation before he met me on urban community affairs and prison reform, and listened to him after he met me, completely two different conversations. Completely two different conversations. And it was his own people that didn't want to vote for him because he had a black man running his campaign. But we still got him 63,000 votes out of the city of Philadelphia, a white Republican. Unheard of. Unheard of. The same individuals that voted for Wolf, right, blindly, right, because Wolf didn't even start campaigning in the city until I got with Wagner. And they voted him in, and now they mad at the job that he's doing. Now they mad at the job that he's doing. And everything that was on Scott's campaign, he addressed. The falling schools, the overtaxing the senior citizens. This is the stuff that he was talking about, the crime in the community, stop and frisk. These are the things he wanted to address. Before Wolf took office, before Mayor Kinney took office, Philadelphia was not #1 in poverty. How we beat out Baltimore? How we beat out Detroit? How do we beat out these towns? What is going on? And every single day, these same individuals come around and they ask us to continue to vote for them, to keep voting for them and keep voting for them. And we keep doing it. And then you got all these pockets of other individuals that keep convincing everybody. The city is for sale. Anytime, I give you a perfect example. You had Dennis Lee, who was deputy commissioner, right, down City Hall for voting and all that. You had Omar Sabir, who won, he ran for a traffic court judge, right? He won, but they cut that out. So he was looking for another place to land. And he landed running for commissioner. Because Local 332, which got some good people there, backed him, his brother, whoever was there, and put the finance behind him. But he had no experience. None whatsoever. He never had nothing to do with that office at all. How did he beat out a person that worked in that office for years under the commissioner, and he was the deputy commissioner ready to move up? Who had more experience in this race, Omar Sabir or Dennis Lee? Dennis Lee didn't have the money or the backing so the people can really vote for him. But Omar did. And the people allow the push, vote for Omar, vote for Omar. But they never asked the qualifications of Omar. Never. They allowed this man to win, and Dennis Lee didn't win. And I know both of them. They both good guys, individuals like that, but I'm talking politics. I'm not talking outside of politics. I'm talking qualifications to be a politician. This is what I'm talking about. I served 22 years. When I came home from jail, the first person I met that was talking about registering to vote and didn't care how you register was Dennis Lee. He was running around introducing people, showing you how the voting booth go, how to do the new stuff that happened when it came with the new voting stuff, the jury manner, and he was giving out all kinds of seminars on this stuff. Omar never did one. And then when that office space opened up, he ran for that office, got billboards and everything put up because they paid for it, and he beat a guy that was more qualified than him. That's why we in the condition we in right now. Because you got people running for office that's not qualified to be in office, and you wondering why we in the conditions that we in. That's the situation. That's why you got a cancer inside of our community. That's why the youth don't care about none of this stuff. That's why I love the Black Lives Movement. Let me tell you why. How they got the statues put down and all that flags and all that stuff, and how the NBA got Black Lives Matter down on their floors, and all of a sudden the NFL apologized for kicking the guy out for kneeling and all that stuff. You know what I love about that movement? Not one politician had anything to do with it. We didn't have to make no votes and go to the voting poll or nothing to get anything done. We did it with our voices, unifying, whether you was black, white, it don't matter. If you was part of the movement, we embraced you and we got a lot done. That tells me we don't need no politicians to get stuff done. They need us. We have to do a political cleansing. I give you a perfect example for those that's in the urban community and why we not getting nothing done. In City Hall, you have more than 9 black council people. In order to get something done in City Hall, a bill passed, you only need 9 votes. If the mayor do something and you don't like it, you need 12 votes to veto it. How is the urban community in poverty when you got black representatives more than 9 and you only need 9 votes to get all the funding you need to your community programs and so forth? Because they separated and they divided. I'll give you a perfect example. I think her name is Cheryl Clark, whoever she is. If I'm wrong, correct me. She had the vice president candidate, Kamala Harris, come to Philadelphia. Instead of for getting everybody in the community, all activists, all state representatives and everybody, and have one big gathering, she took it to her neighborhood, her block. So she wins. Only thing she know in Philadelphia is this girl Clark. Are you serious? And we went for that. We literally went for that. So that means she can say this lady owes me a favor because she's going to make it seem like she won Philadelphia because of her. And everybody else going to be left out in her section to be taken care of. But what about Philadelphia? It's more than one section in Philadelphia. And that's the crazy part. That people don't even address that because we allow them to do what they do. And we don't make them pay for it. So if you don't have to earn the vote, you're not going to respect the vote. They always talk about get out the right to vote. How about put a poster up, earn the vote? Why not? Why not earn the vote? Why not earn the vote? We keep letting people take us for granted. And yet we still waiting for them. People get mad when you say Black Lives Matter. All lives matter, yeah. But if all lives matter, we wouldn't have to say Black Lives Matter. So cut the crap. The reality is this. The city of Philadelphia, especially in the urban community, we're hurting because our representatives. We have the wrong individuals representing us, and they've been there for years and decades, and they getting checks now. They get a job, right? And they get a job working for the government, for the city, saying they representing us to get there long enough to get a pension, getting the drop program and all that other stuff. But in reality, right, you have a person that never was able to budget a checkbook. They got an access card in their wallet and everything, and then decide to run for office. Then they got $1 million budgets and stuff, right? And that's why most of them wind up going to jail. Then they try to make a plea bargain to give up their seat but keep their pension and all that. That's your state representatives do that nonsense. So when I go up Harrisburg and I watch what they do up there, our state representatives in the city of Philadelphia does not get any respect up Harrisburg. They don't want y'all to know that, but I go up there unannounced. I was on the floor. I was invited up Harrisburg quite a few times, but I was on the floor when a certain state representative was giving their speech about their community. And here's the problem. While that person was speaking, all the whites and even the blacks that was in there turned their backs on that person while they was speaking and start having their own conversation. Literally, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And the person was talking for about 5-10 minutes, and then they said, in conclusion, that's when everybody turned around and then started applauding. But neither one of them, no individual there could have told you what that person said. And they was talking about certain stuff in their community that they need to help get a bill passed. Wow. Here's what I learned. You have the minority and you have the majority up there in Harrisburg with your state representatives. Well, the minority is mostly all black. The majority is all white. The majority, the decision was already made in the hallway, and then they went in there. See, the majority let the minority have their say, but the majority will have their way. That's just like I buy you a brand new Cadillac, and every time you outside waxing it, wiping it, and a kid come up and say, Miss Sharon, why you always wiping that car out but never taking nowhere? And you pop the hood and ain't no engine in it. That's our state representatives right now up Harrisburg. They get no respect. None whatsoever. I was there. Ain't nobody telling me this. I witnessed this. And the day I witnessed this, some of them start acting funny towards me because I started telling them, where's your power at? You don't even make them respect you up there. Then you go to other counties. And then being with Scott Wagner when he ran for governor, I went to 67 counties. That's what Pennsylvania is made up of, 67 counties. 4 times. I traveled every county. Not too many black African Americans, returning citizens, could come home and say that they traveled Pennsylvania 4 times in all 67 counties. I did that on speaking engagements and everything. And what I learned was certain sections in the city of Philadelphia and other counties got everything. They schools is beautiful. They got soccer field, football field, when you go into the to their recreation center, the paint is all beautiful, ain't nothing peeling and none of that. The bathroom smell like a beautiful bathroom, no urine, no graffiti and nothing. Because they state representatives listen to the people there and they hold them accountable, and the funding that come through is actually spent there. Then you come to the urban community. You walk in there, it's all doom and gloom. Some of the lights is missing. It's all dark in there. You got people with attitudes that work there, don't want to be there. You go to the bathroom, you got to hold your nose while you at the urinal and all this stuff. Why our community got to look like that? Because our representatives, that's why. That's why we in the situation we in right now. Because our representatives got to go. It needs to be a political cleansing. That's what it needs to be. We need to bring people from amongst us. I don't care what religion you believe in. Buddhism, Christianity, Muslim, whatever, don't even matter. Read your religious book. When God brought a messenger to the people, he brought them from amongst the people that was in the plight, in the poverty-stricken areas with them and everything. So he understood the people. He understood the cry of the people. So when he talked to the people and said, God gave me this message and gave me a mission that involved y'all, some of them try to cast him out. Those are the ones that was doing evil and dirt. But the ones that wanted to get out of that mess followed them and got out of that mess. Because it was a political cleansing, but that was a spiritual cleansing. Right now, we need to build a Noah's Ark. We need to put everybody on that ark that we need to survive and let everybody else drown. That's what we need to do. And I'm Tracey L Fisher, unapologetic.